Well, everybody, this is David Trigg, your Enneagram coach. I'm a pastor, coach of the Enneagram, which is a personality type. And I'm here to help you become yourself, to become the true you. And so today I'm talking about what to do when an Enneagram 3, the achiever, is in failure or is in the low side of who they are. So the Enneagram 3, called the achiever, you could say their deadly sin or their vice is deceit, is vanity. So a lot of the Enneagram is based on Proverbs 6, where it talks about the 7 deadly sins. And one of them is vanity. And so the 3 is often seen as the most successful of all the types. They are very externally focused. They want to be seen as successful, appear successful, even at the expense of the truth of the matter. And so you'll often hear people say of 3s, wow, they are handling this really well. But inside, 3s can often be dying inside. And so what happens? What do you do when you are in that place? So one of my mentors, shout out to Dr. Zapata, she told me a long time ago, she said, David, you have to go from me to we, from I to us. And I think she was a 3 is my guess, Dr. Rossi, shout out. And that really is the way forward. When the 3 is in this, as I call it, the sad puppy eyes season, they need to look to become more collaborative, more of making other people succeed, not at the expense of themselves, but with themselves, with who they are. In biblical terms, the Enneagram 3 is often called the glory of God. They are the sun of the universe. They are, you think of the glory of God shines as bright as the sun. The glory of God is what created the heavens and the earth. The glory of God is what one day we will see him fully. Moses said that he asked God to show him his glory. And God said, you can't see my glory, you will die. And so the glory of God is amazing, powerful, blinding. It is here to light up a room, you could say. And so the Enneagram 3s, that's what they're built for, to light up a room. Now, when they are put in places that is, as they would consider, beneath them, then they really suffer. They go to stress. And the 3 in stress goes to the 9, the low side of 9, which is the sloth, or to the low side of 6, which is the anxious person. And so you will see a lot of 3s when they're not at the top of their game, really struggling with depression, anxiety, with checking out. And so they will come across as disengaged because they're not thriving. And so now, what do you do? And so, well, the 3 first has to, I think, acknowledge what they're going through. The fact is that not everyone sees them as less than. Just because you have to set up the chairs and not preach the sermon or be the star of the movie doesn't mean that you're worthless or unimportant. But the 3 feels it that way. Other types, they're like, okay, I'll just set up the chairs and then go on stage. But the 3s really feel it or see it as a threat to their ego, because their ego, their vanity is very strong. Their glory. Would the sun be okay having the moon say, hey, can you bring it down a notch or 2? I'm going to eclipse you for these next 24 hours. I don't know. And so that's how the 3 often feels, like there's a threat or someone is threatening their very worth. And so 3s, they're at the heart of at the center of the heart center. And so feelings of shame and worthlessness are huge for the 3s. And so when you're feeling worthless or ashamed of the unsuccessfulness or your failures, then you have to what do? You have to then be aware, but then you have to move to that high part of 6, which is the collaboration or the collaborative type, the loyalist. And so what the 3 can do, as I said, is go to from me to we, from I to us. What that means is to begin to let your light shine before men, that they may see the glory of God. So whereas the 3 often wants the attention to come towards them, in growth, in maturity, you could say in the second half of life, the 3 will succeed if they begin to point the arrows outward towards other people, making other people shine and better. Not at the expense of themselves, because after all, the sun is still the sun. The sun still gives light to the moon and the earth and everyone around them. The sun is still at the center of the galaxy, of the Milky Way. So the 3 will always naturally, this is how God made them, be at the center of the universe. But they would be wise to move towards a more collaborative approach, especially, as I said, at the second half of life, when they've experienced failures and they're dealing with depression or with sloth and apathy, checking out, basically, as I call it. So you have to be aware of some of these habits and move towards other people. And so what do you do? Well, for example, I've mentioned here before, I'm a 3. And so I would say for the last 10 years, I've been in a place of apathy and failure because some of the projects and some of the things that I gave my life to just haven't worked out. Up until then, up until my early 40s, I would call myself Miracle Grow. And so for the 3, the way forward, as I was talking about my personal life, is to go from feeling disregarded or feeling put down to looking to make other people shine with them in the middle of it. So it's not either or, as I was saying. It's not the sun becomes the stars or becomes the moon or becomes a little satellite. They're still the sun, but they're now there to make other people succeed along with them. It's like if I win, you win. And if you win, we all win. And that's the way forward for the 3. They can become really healthy people when they turn all of their success into helping other people. You could think of Oprah. She, I think, is a 3. And maybe at first, I mean, she's always seemed very collaborative, but maybe at first it was more about her. But it seems like now it's about other people. She's no longer the TV host or whatever. And now it seems like she's there to help other people. You could say maybe Sean Penn was a 3, a lot of actors and musicians and just regular people, CEOs and musicians especially. When you could say that 3, especially musicians, they want to be on stage for the rest of their lives. And guess what? A lot of 3s are on stage for the rest of their lives. But when they experience loss, they have to help other people. They have to almost become less of that ego-driven person so they can get through that season, be humble, and then let God lift them up. Like the Bible says, that he gives grace to the humble, but he resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself, Jesus says, in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. And so there are seasons for the 3 where they have to humble themselves, or life will just humble you. And you can either fight it or jump around or quit or fight it or become even more depressed or anxious, or you can surrender to it and know that in due time, God will lift you back up to even greater places. Not necessarily you're going to have more money or a bigger house, but more fulfillment. And so the 3 can succeed once again through a more collaborative approach. And that's what I am seeking to do. It's not easy, but that's the season that I'm in, especially these last, I would say, 4 or 5 years post-pandemic. So if you are in a place as a 3 or someone that you love as a 3, where you're feeling like you're in the dark hole, you're in the crucible, then consider moving towards making other people succeed with you in the middle of it. You're still the conductor, but you're not looking to you, you're looking to them. Consider also trusting and surrendering your ego to God and saying, Lord, for this season I have to surrender my rights and my spotlight so that you can be glorified and I can trust you and learn to trust you that you will lift me up in due time, whenever you want, Lord, in however way you want. And then consider just finding the joy in being humble and being like everyone else. That for this season, it's not forever, that you can just be an average Joe, another bozo on the bus, as my friend would say. And that there's grace in that, there's respect and honor in that. And so that you can learn basically what everyone else feels like, just average people. And then guess what? In due time, in God's time, he will lift you up. I want to close with a story. It says, Joseph was a man of God. And so he was thrown into the dungeon. His brothers sold him to slavery. And he was in the dungeon. He was a dreamer, right? You could say he was a 3. And while he was in the gutter, he was accused of all these horrible things. And then he was down there just waiting to be killed. But then some of the potters and the whatever, they began to have dreams. And Joseph's gift was to interpret dreams. Long story short, one of those guys down there, he got out. And so the king said, hey, is there anybody? The king had a bad dream. So he said, is there anyone that you know that can interpret my dream? And then this man, I think it was the potter or something, he said, hey, there's a man in the dungeon that you have, Joseph. And so the king called him. Joseph interpreted the king's dream. It became true. It saved a famine that was to come. And the king said, Joseph, you are my second in command. And Joseph became the star that he was meant to be. And that really is the way forward for the 3. If you're in the dungeon, keep using your gifts. Keep being you. But you're in the dungeon. And you have to trust that in due time, the king will notice you and will lift you up and will put you second in command where you deserve, where you belong. If my coaching has helped you, please let me know. Email me, trigger@trigger.com. I would love to help you. I would love to help you in your own process of becoming yourself. Whatever Enneagram type you are, we can discover what type you are and then go from there. Email me, go to my website, davidtrigger.com. I'd love to help you. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Adios.